What is going on, guys? Welcome to Double Tap. This is Mash Those Buttons podcast dedicated to the FGC. I am, of course, your host, Crash, and we've got a new episode for you guys this week. This is episode 369. Yes, funny number at the end there. We've got a new Kombat Kast with Ermac. We've got Hitbox patent pending. And do we want more patches in fighting games? Once again, I am Crash, and with me, I've got my hosts of hosts. Got StaticGorilla, of course, in the building.
Hello, thank you for introducing me. Appreciate it. It's something like always new that I gotta say.
Of course. Got to bring something fresh in. And of course, our voice, something I'm not going to change up. The voice of reason on this show in our heads most of the time, now shown off. We've got Ja as well.
What's going on? And I just want to say, they got the patent. Now they want you to license it, okay?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
Yes, you got to keep it together.
Pending was done.
Yeah, the pending was done.
Correct. See, voice of reason for a reason. Welcome, guys. Welcome for those that are giving us an extra 2 quarters this week for another credit to listen in. We appreciate you guys. So for those that are stepping up to the cab to see what is going on here, got hit with that interactive mode, that kiosk mode, decided to press play. We appreciate you guys for being with us. Since you're new to the show, if you don't know, chapters are available on YouTube, Spotify, and any of our platforms that do support podcasting 2.0. So in case you want to get through the very specifics of the show that I said earlier, you can go ahead and do so there. Let's just jump in, man. Before obviously we get into those parts, we are hitting our poll and our question of the week. Let's hit off with the poll first. So we asked last week on episode 368, what the hardest part about learning fighting games? What is just the hardest barrier to get over when you're jumping in? We gave you guys four choices. We had game mechanics, combos / inputs, hold an L / accountability, and having fun. And we've got a 37%? Or is it 34%, excuse me. Got to get myself some new glasses. No, 35%. Really got to get my glasses going. 35%, by 1% on the results there. Combos and inputs. Not really that surprised. Combos, that's like the most common thing I tend to hear from people is where they just can't actually do things. They'll just blame their hands or say like, oh, I'm too slow. I don't know how to do, this. It's not really as hard as it seems, but it seems to be the biggest barrier. Right behind it, though, with that 34% was the game mechanics, because some fighting games play one way, others play it different, so it tends to kind of throw people off. So I'm not also too surprised there. Those are kind of like the two most common mechanics, or rather points of a fighting game that developers are trying to work on and help kind of break down those barriers to get more people to play. Because hey, more people playing the game, that's just a win-win for everybody. We appreciate you guys getting involved in that. Let's talk about the question of the week. We do post this up also on our Twitter, on our Spotify, Discord. It's on our YouTube as well. We're in the community questions there, but we can just talk about a quick couple entries here. This one is coming from our Discord. This is from Drex1981. We asked what the biggest misconception about fighting games were. Basically things that, you hear and you think are, they're being said that's true, but it's like, not really. It's actually not that big a deal. So the biggest concept in fighting games for Drex is how he feels how welcoming the fighting game scene can be to newer players. Gives us an example, letting us know that, in some instances, older players let their egos dictate how they treat newer players. Instead of helping them learn the game and get better, basically treat them like garbage, like scrubs. Then he gives us a little story here. Speaking from personal experience, I beat this guy in Street Fighter V at one of my locals. This guy has been to Evo, and he was pretty good. Giving him props. I've never been to Evo. While I was fairly new to Street Fighter V, I wasn't new to fighting games. But instead of congratulating me and saying GG's, he got pissed. I felt like that doesn't help the community grow. Our locals never grew more than 5 to 10 per week. We basically had to piggyback off the local Smash community, which was always huge. First of all, if you were just jumping in Street Fighter V, but like you said, you weren't new to fighting games and you just bodied this fool, and he just didn't give you the handshake and the GGs, then you know what? He was clearly you were the better player in every sense of the word, both on the game and off the game. Because that kind of attitude, it does suck. But I want to say, for me, I think that's a one-off. Like, you're always going to find people that are going to react that way. Doesn't mean the community isn't welcoming. You might have just a couple of people that are very competitive and they are just like, they take that to heart. So don't let that kind of be like, the full on experience that you're going to see everywhere. But it does happen. It does happen. I still want to say, I don't want to say this is a misconception. Like I said, I've been in more instances, or at least I've tried whenever I'm ever involved with anything fighting game related, any scene, even when it's not my scene, I always try to still give that, welcoming attitude. Cause you don't know, if it's people's first time being there or if it's our 100th time being there, you can still treat them respect. Like, yo, what are you doing? What are you playing? What are you playing on? Who do you play? Right. And you try to build that rapport with them. Cause that's like what a community does, right? You make those connections. So this guy was either clearly having a bad day or he never learned that lesson. But it is what it is. That's why you won the match. That's why you won the match, Drex. And we have another one which I actually want to give some more props to. Actually, it's down here. Thank you. This is from Mr. Justin McCoy over on our Spotify. Mind you, our Spotify, technically this week, we didn't actually post up the question. We have like a generic one that filled in. My bad, forgot to put that in there. But shout outs to Justin regardless for actually answering the question, meaning my brother really listened to the show. I was like, yo, I have to tell him how it is. Justin writes, biggest misconception that prevented me from playing fighting games was how the fighting game community talks in frame data. Coming from competitive COD, this was an instant wall that made me push off picking up a fighting game. Just got Street Fighter 6 though. Like, okay, cool. So that's really in the weeds of like understanding fighting games. Do you need to know it to start? No. Frame data, that's when you're in the training, you're a training room monster at that point, right? You're in the training stage, you're a frame data monster. That means you're trying to find out the mathematics behind setups and situations and seeing like what comes out on top, what doesn't, what's punishable, what's not from setups. Like you don't really need that from the beginning. So I don't think that's a big, should be as big of a barrier in getting in.
If you're not in and then you hear people talking about it, like you don't like basically like what you're saying, like you have to have an understanding of fighting games already to understand that it's not a requirement. But if you're on the outside and you just hear people talking about the difference between
frames,
frames, then they're gonna know. That's like if you flip it, right? And I'm pretty sure almost every weapon in Call of Duty is hit scan. So you have to take like a different arena shooter, right? Where you have the different types of weapons. Like some guns are hit scan, some guns are projectiles, some guns are like beam weaponry, right?
Yeah.
That information isn't that important until you get into the weeds of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to know from the start to start playing the game or even to get into those games competitively. But if you've never played them before and you just hearing about it for the first time, then it's like, you might.
Yeah. It's more of I guess it's more of the teaching side of it. Like I would not, if I'm bringing somebody in, I wouldn't even bother like really trying to break down frames with them until like later. It's like, you just need to know like, yo, you press this button, it's still your turn. Right. That's why I say like I like the turn concept because it's much easier to break down like, oh, can I still do something or is it now their turn to rebuttal? Because what's a fighting game? It's a dance, right? It's like I do a 2-step, maybe a step this way, you step that way, right? We're gonna do this until somebody gets the hit and then eventually the health bar goes down. Right. So but for sure, it could be if you're looking at it from that side of it, I can see how that could be a little tough. But I don't want to discount Justin though getting in. Hey, he's on Street Fighter 6. Not a bad game to help understand frames because of the new tool, right? That they have in there to help you like visually see like the blue blocks are like how long your button goes. The yellow shows the active and the red is like bad. So you can kind of like even visually see it. So popular that it's been modded in other fighting games since. Guilty Gear has this mod. Street Fighter 2 has this mod up in Fightcade. So it's definitely, you know what, I'll give definitely some validity to that because like developers recognize it and they're like, you know what, here is a tool to help kind of maybe get over that barrier. And
don't add it for behind a paywall. Tekken. Sorry.
Yeah, please don't put it behind a paywall. That's I think they learned their lesson. But shout outs to Justin once again, man. Thank you for the answer. And thank you, Drex as well. And everyone else, actually. We've had more than just them answering and getting involved in the question of the week as well as the poll. We do this on every episode, so we'll have a new one this week. But we do appreciate everyone that has gotten involved once again, and we'll give you a little plug-in later as to how you want to get involved at the end of the episode. But with that, we're actually going to take a quick break because when we come back, we're gonna talk some Ermac. We had Kombat Kast went down today, so we got plenty to talk about. Ermac is coming with some new tricks, and some other characters are getting some new moves. So we'll be jumping back into some MK1 right after this. All right, and we're back. So, new Kombat Kast today. We weren't 100% sure if it was going to happen. It felt like it was kind of under the radar. I don't know if you felt the same way, Static, but I mean, we assumed a Kombat Kast was coming. We got the trailer. But like I hadn't heard anything about it. And honestly, we didn't know about it until you posted it up.
Well, we held off on Ermac last week in case there was anything.
Exactly.
And ta-da.
Because
a billion souls
breaking
just showed up,
Exactly, a billion souls. Because a trailer is cool and all. Like we've covered trailers before. We have no problem with that. But I want some substance. I want to know what in the hell this character is bringing in, and I want to break it down with you guys. So the Kombat Kast happened earlier today. Pretty standard breakdown on everything. It was actually within like the last 6 hours. It actually came out. So we got a look at Ermac with the mask. Obviously, I don't know if there's going to be an alternate version that's going to have no mask. I would hope so as well. But apparently, a lot of people liked the mask. So it was a dub that they actually ended up completing his design with it. So can't have the red ninja without the ninja mask.
So do we want to go into Kombat Kast first, or talk quickly about the trailer? Because the Kombat Kast didn't show for me the Fatality. So if I just can gush a little bit about the Fatality.
Okay, all right. So let's hit it off with the trailer first, because we'll break down really the specifics of what the trailer had. They explained it all in the Kombat Kast, but like you said, they didn't show the Fatality. And Static has been yearning to talk about this shit since last week. So
you lead. I will keep my color commentary.
No, there is nothing to lead. Okay. I'm the cameo now. Cool. What the hell's going on with this trailer?
I can't wait for Zach to talk about the Fatality because I thought I wasn't going to have anything to say for this segment. I thought I wasn't going to have nothing to say. And here's Static being my hero. But go ahead.
Let's go. What you got?
All right. By the way, trailer looks great. Character looks great. I think it's fresh to see. And then there's a lot of stuff that Movado is apparently, now that we know, bringing to the game. He's a unique assist character. I want to preface that first because everything looks smooth until I saw the, to me, underwhelming Fatality. It was like, oh, look, he's got Shao Kahn in a circle. He spins him. Oh, that's cool. Spins him again. And they were like, what should we do now? Oh, I don't know. What if you just squish them together like clay? And then he just splashes onto the floor and goes, ugh. Like, whose idea? Like, do something with it. Like, I don't know. Push him through the wall.
They did. What do you mean it's underwhelming?
He is a gusher made of meat. He is a meat gusher now.
No, it went from, damn, that's a messed up way to die or a torturous way to kill him. And then it's like, squish. It's anticlimactic.
You felt it didn't pay off.
Right. There was no payoff.
Yo, he had hands and feet in the right places at the beginning of that Fatality. And at the end of that Fatality, his hands and feet were not in the right places any longer.
And I get it. Like,
you know what it is? Static is spoiled because Ermac had probably one of the hard, like, just gut-wrenching, no pun intended, fatalities from MKX. And I think ever since then, the bars too, I was like, how creative. Exactly. I didn't even have to say what it was. We're talking the lift off, the spine breaking. Like, first of all,
it's like when you have a chicken wing and then you break the
break the wing. Yeah, but do that for the whole body. And then, you think, he's dead. No. He then decides to pull your ass, literally, intestinal tract through your body. And then not only is it just like, just pull it, let's just squish it too, and then throw it down. Like, and the sound it made was just so gnarly. Fatality aside, because Gabe is just spoiled, and I understand. I can understand.
To say it.
Okay, a fatality aside. So yeah, we got a breakdown of Ermac, and he is a very interesting character to say the least. I mean, do we want to go? Let's go into let's hit all of the Ermac points. We'll hit all the additional content they're going to do afterwards as well.
Okay.
So Ermac, historically has since MKX, right? Because he wasn't in 11, right? He wasn't in 11.
No, he was he was a victim of the pit. It all blends together. Yeah.
Yes, victim of the pit. Thank you. That's right. Yes, he literally was in 11, but not in that way.
Crypt.
In X, he was a really, really good character, especially by the end of it. He had some he was a very competitive character. But, in this game, as they stated, he's more of a rushdown character. And they designed him as a rushdown character, but not in a traditional sense. So this is where it gets, I'm going to refer to X a couple times because A, that was the last game he was in. And then B, I'm seeing some kind of mechanics that are very similar to what we saw in X that I'm kind of not worried, but I'm like, okay, they're kind of doing it again, but hopefully in a much more refined way.
In X or in 9?
I'm talking about an X.
Okay.
I'm talking about an X.
I recently saw, Ja's going to hate me for this. I recently saw a Maximilian video where he covered MK9's Ermac, and the chat was teaching him different moves. And there is a cancel that he has in that game where it looks like they put it into this game.
Okay.
Off of that
so Ermac is a rushdown character in this game, but not in a sense of high-low, which is a really good description of it. More of he has a cancel game plan.
Yeah.
Meaning a lot of his movesets, a lot of his buttons, his strings are meant to be cancelable into something. So it gives them this wide range of combo expression, which is great. That's awesome because Ermac known for being the character that can levitate you and hold you and all that. Give you the free hit if he has it. He can be a really dope combo machine, right? Go look at his first inclusion in MK3. It's in his DNA,
right?
It's in his DNA. It's in the soul. It's in the soul. Souls. So I liked. I'm gonna go to things that I liked. I liked the evolution of his his grab, his lift. Especially involving the demon soul stuff in there, they're evolving it. Before it was I can understand MK3, very early graphics. It's just the character floats and you give it a little jiggle, sure. And it's been now it's this green aura, which is supposed to be his soul energy. Now it's you actually get to see it's a fucking demon that grips you up and actually holds you instead of it just happening. Was a really cool evolution. So visually, character
Stunning.
Looks dope.
Yeah.
The kit is already looking really good.
I like his idle animation, all of the above, his movement. It looks great.
Yes. As visually to the eyes, for sure. I have eyes behind here, I swear. They're visual. They're very good to them. So he looks really good. And then the big part about, I want to say the big piece of his kit that I liked was his hover gameplay, or rather the hover mechanic he has, which he's had it before. There was a variation in MKX where he literally had an actual hover, a fly, I was gonna say Sindel. I don't think Sindel's had anything like that. Or no, she kind of did in 3, kind of. But
in 3 it was bad. In
3 it was bad.
Yes. In 9 it was also kind of bad, but it activated an infinite that got patched out.
Yeah, I remember. So with Ermac, they got this hover mechanic where basically, being in an air state, he has several moves to put him in an air state, like this knee move, and then from that state he can then come down. This mechanic's been shown off before by other characters, MKX as well, but he also had it there. So I liked the idea that they're trying to push this rush down, but not in a sense of just it's high, low, because that gets boring really quick. It's all about knowing what's an overhead, what's a low, and that's it. It's more about he has a cancel gameplay mechanic that allows him to actually mix where he's canceling from, and that's what creates his kind of mix itself inherently, right? Which is fun because those are characters that are the rushdown characters like that are fun because you can create just so many mixes within their kits. It becomes almost a mental stack alone playing the character. We're not talking mental stack as in all the things you got to worry about already, right? With resources, your own character and all, but his game plan is an insane mental stack in itself, which makes him a really good, he's going to be a beginner, killer.
Right.
Any player that's starting out has to deal with even a okay Ermac player that has maybe 1 or 2 strings, they're gonna feel they're lost because they're holy shit, when is it my turn? Because this guy is gonna be able to do, he's basically gonna have just all those options, which is really cool. I like those kinds of characters because it kind of seems like a pseudo stance for me. I like stance characters. I've stated it before. It's my thing. So his like hover works as almost like a stance. So those were like kind of like the two big highlights for me. What about you? What did you like about the character?
Well, they say rush down, but he still has mid-range type moves like the push away.
Yeah.
So it's very Green Lantern-esque. Green Lantern did, however, have those 50-50s in Injustice, like the back threes.
Don't remind me.
Back 2-3, is it?
In my dreams. Back 2-3 and back 1, which was the toe one. Yeah. He just hits the toe, but he goes really far. Yeah, I hated that.
You having trouble there? All right. So like the teleports, and you can just teleport into high and or not high or low, but like on the ground or
in
the
air or on the ground. Yeah.
Right.
So you have like 2 points where it's like you can pick to teleport in the air and then come down, or from the ground to go up, which is just like, what?
Right.
Okay.
Now the strings, like the cancel of the strings and then the airborne strings are what's it's not cheap. It's just that it looks very good. And it kind of concerns me into something we're going to talk about a little later on, about how he seems like he has tools that, and a lot, don't get me wrong, a lot of characters do have tools. I've already talked about in previous episodes about different traits that each character has, sort of like an Injustice feel. But he has certain tools that look like it would be kind of an advantage, almost like Johnny Cage in this game, where Johnny Cage has the cancels that he can do as well, and continuable pressure, and bait you into doing a move, aka being plus on certain things, or maybe even minus, or just faking out. So I think he's going to be very strong. Like you said, a scrub killer at the very start. Rage quitting, people cursing you out on your controllers, happening very often. So yeah, I do like what I'm seeing.
What about how do you feel about Death's Embrace? So break down what Death's Embrace is, which is a mechanic, a unique mechanic to Ermac, so, where basically he gets touched by like a soul or something like that, and now he becomes all green, like we saw it in the gameplay trailer. What happens there is basically your meter bar, basically your resource at the bottom, to allow you to do, it's not EX moves, but they're like, what is it? Improved?
EX moves.
They call them EX moves? Okay. EX moves, your enhanced moves.
And your breakers.
At the bottom, and your breaker, right? It's like, and your X-ray or whatever.
No.
Or not your X-ray. You know the X-ray. Fatal, I forget X-rays. But anyway, those two. Basically, that bar at the bottom, while he's in this mode, which lasts about for 5 seconds, becomes your health.
I think it lasts until you turn it off.
No, 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Oh, then maybe the OD one is when 5 seconds. Turn it off. Okay. Right.
You get to choose when to turn it off, though. I don't think it matters on your EX version or not. Don't get me wrong. It was a very subtle detail, and like I think it was only Tyler that said it for like a quick second, but it was 5 seconds because they had it like standing there for 5 seconds and it turns off. But anyway, basically the bar becomes your health bar. So instead of like if you're getting hit and your health bar receiving that like minus value, it actually happens through your meter. So now his unique mechanic is that his meter bar, you can think of it as an additional to his health that he has. Obviously, you're sacrificing the ability to combo break and to enhance moves. But if you're a player that maybe the gameplay is strong enough that you don't have to worry about that. Maybe they're designing it in a way where maybe he isn't as reliant on those kinds of resources. I mean, that's really up to you. You can choose to now have an additional set of health while in this, and you can turn it on and you can turn it off while you're being comboed. Like they said this, but I don't think they explained it, they didn't show it during the actual casting, where they said they could turn it off while you're being comboed. So you can kind of choose to be like, oh, I want to make sure I save 1 bar meter and I'm getting comboed and I'm getting close to seeing that 1 bar meter get touched. You can choose to turn it off within the 5 seconds, and now it's back to like just your health bar getting hit. So it's like a pseudo weird like Aquaman trait. Like if you remember Aquaman's like Injustice trait.
It's almost like you can try, if you're going to bait somebody's, or if you're just going to, on somebody's wake up, they do fatal blow. You just turn it on like, hey, do your fatal blow. It's not going to do any damage to me. Ha ha ha. It's like, come on, bro.
In terms, but it depends on how fast it is. Cause like, I don't think you could do it on reaction to it, because I would think the fatal blow will come out before that. Cause it seemed like it was kind of a slow animation, but I'd have to recheck it to see how long until it gets active, like if it needs to complete in order to be active or activated. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool, unique mechanic. So you can kind of play weird, like you can play a longer game. It sounds weird. Like he can play a longer game and take and have one more mistake, which makes sense because like if you make a mistake during your your constant canceling and your chaining, right, of your game plan, like having an ability that helps not punish you for that, like kind of compensate for that, but in a sense of like you lose your meter, but then you get another chance to kind of live, right? You get a chance to kind of exceed your resource management with your health. It's really cool. And that actually was a part I meant to bring up was the another component that he has to kind of push on this whole like canceling thing was the fist charge. Or rather the ability to chain out of not only the fist charge move where he can like crumple you if he fully charges it. You saw it in the trailer, like as it started. You can like cancel out of it like from dashing. And it's not the only move. It was like the other new move he has where he can have like the souls like bust out of him or something that can do like a launch. You can choose to cancel out of it if it hits or not. So I'm like seeing this. I'm seeing these two moves and I'm going, bro, this is fireball like cancels from like MKX is what I was seeing. I don't know if it was just me, but I was just thinking Liu Kang fireball cancels in MKX to continue pressure and all. And I was like, damn, that's going to be oppressive.
Right.
That's going to be oppressive.
And I just feel like he's already has tools that other characters just don't have access to that'll be, like you say, oppressive to it. Like it's going to force somebody to like do an OD move or an EX move that has armor or some deal, and then they'll back out, dash out, block it, or I don't know, some other thing. Like it's not, of course, game breaking, obviously. Yet.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. By the time we've done this, remember, he's not out yet.
We're not.
It might be game breaking, but we'll see how it is.
And they're not putting this behind a Kung Lao assist yet, and they're not putting this. My favorite assist, and Lindsay Lohan.
And mind you, we're just been talking about the character. Yeah. We haven't even talked about how this character is going to be with cameos, like added to the layer. So speaking of cameos, we did get a chance to talk to look at Movado.
Yeah.
And the crazy utility this character is bringing, which is nuts. Movado is is an OG character. We haven't seen Movado since like Armageddon.
Yeah,
I believe was the last one Movado was around. That's when everybody was in before the big, the big reboot of NRS. He's been, I think, referenced before, but we haven't seen him yet. So Movado being by the way, he's a red dragon. So in case anyone knows about that lore, has some really cool utility in terms of like tech. Like he's got a projectile on the ground. He's got he's got like anti-wake up tech with it because he's got like a slide that is. It sounds weird to say, but it's like a meaty cameo that he has. Yeah. Like when you knock someone down, he can do a slide to like kind of follow up with, and it helps against like wake up options. Maybe not so much against armor. Like I would say that would be like the counterplay to it. But we got combo extension. We got anti-wake up tech. We've got the projectile trap, and even like down to like uppercut extensions from this character because he has multiple directions in which he can come in at. So he just has a lot of utility. And I don't know if it was just like because maybe he was being paired up with Ermac, but Ermac was getting a lot of use for him. But Ermac already having like a really cool kit, having something like Movado just embolder that all the setups and just everything he was able to do is kind of like, oh, is that how Movado's going to be with everyone else? And once again, this is just Ermac with Movado versus like Ermac with whoever other cameo you want to put him with, right? With like a dangerous Kung Lao, like a low hitting hat or whatever, or Frost is going to be kind of gnarly. So Movado, I think, is going to be a pretty well picked.
He also has
cameo.
A sort of like a combo, not combo breaker, but a breaker, just like a defense tool that they didn't showcase. It's in the trailer. They said they couldn't showcase it. It looks like they didn't have a second player on there. There's also that spear that he does that you can collide both you and your opponent.
Oh yeah. That's just one of the standard ones. Yeah, where he actually like clotheslines you with the opponent.
Right.
Yeah, he does not care about you being his teammate.
No.
He does not care.
With that, there it is. Okay, so at 12:35. Let's go to 12:32. With that being said, there's also a couple of other characters. I don't know if you were going to go into other characters as well.
Yeah. There's additional content that's being added. Like, give us a breakdown.
Yeah. So apparently, Tyler did. Was it Tyler? Yeah, Tyler stated, let me see here. New moves for Scorpion. He has a new string. Garrus has a new UI element to show off how many times he has used his countdown. Apparently, there's a countdown that shows the number 3 about it. Rain has new moves they didn't show, and Reptile has a new projectile. I guess it's a faster acid spit from like the old games.
The MK2 acid spit. Yeah. It's fast, but like not like
its startup is slow, fast. But it moves fast.
Yeah. I thought the startup was gonna be fast. It's faster than what I saw.
And then he has a teleport cancel. So his meteor smash type move, he can cancel that into like staying on invisible. I think
a retreating like invisible move. Yeah, I saw from the QA testing, like test matches they showed afterwards, like some of its use case, and I was like, that's dirty because we saw a string into it to that invisible. Then all of a sudden he had already jumped, and now he's like, and I'm like, oh shit, what? Like I actually it faked me out. So I was like, I could see that being dangerous because imagine doing that then into a cameo. Right, like now you have like a pretty crazy point of attack that you're getting covered with.
It scares me. It's they think this through. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Then Shujenko also got a bunch of different new moves. I don't know if it's just new moves that he is copied off of opponents, but
I believe it is because I don't believe he had like the Shang Tsung fireballs he didn't have before, the katana. The katana like DP basically, like he did not have that before. So yeah, definitely learn some new moves. It even has the Baraka blades
right
in the cameo assist, which I was like, that's definitely new.
So I don't know if what they showed there, and they didn't really explain it well. I don't know if they explained that he's like, it looks like he's stealing moves, but I don't know if they took away the charge ability. Remember, he was charging for a while. So
yes, So we're gonna have to see if anything in the patch notes like kind of make that a little bit more clear. They were pretty vague about it, so we'll just have to wait and see and find out about that. But besides that, we just had some content, right, that also got thrown in there.
Yes, they talked about the new missions modes, like kill the robot with a combo or target practice, things that'll say it would be more fun. I just hope they cut down some of the load times or just like all of the dead time in between doing certain things. Only because you're doing so much throughout the in-game content, you're trying to get farther. So that's just personal. But Season of Storm, apparently Raiden is a new invader. The new invader, King of the Hill is now crossplay. So that's nice.
Yes.
That's a good addition. Finally.
Yeah. Surprised it wasn't crossplay to begin with. I would think that's one of the, if there were any other modes, besides versus, I would think King of the Hill, where you want a bunch of people in, you'd want crossplay there from the rip. But hey, you know what? Better late than never. So it's there now. So Ermac, the Ermac overall impression is good. Hopefully, we'll see how good he actually is when he actually gets his hands on by everyone, which will be actually on the 16th, which will be tomorrow for early access. So if you have the pass that you get it a week early. Regular release will be happening April 23rd of next week. So we're gonna be seeing some tech. The Twitter space is gonna be full of it this week. So we'll see how busted he could be. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what Movado can do because I think he's kind of an insane cameo.
We're not seeing him for a while.
He's going to unlock a lot of characters. Yeah, I can already see that coming.
We're not going to see him for a while, I believe. Usually the cameo characters throughout after these
are after.
Yeah, they take
after. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for is for the Movado. So we'll have to wait and find out. All right. So with that's actually going to wrap up with all MK news. But that isn't the only WB title thing that we're going to be kind of getting involved in inside the family. Multiversus. I haven't forgotten about you guys. Multiversus, right? We covered their big announcement back, or their announcements for coming back, and they have definitely taken to Twitter to kind of keep up the keeping themselves hot, making sure they're in everybody's mind that hey, we are coming back. Remember this. Remember this. Remember how this game was. But yeah, they took to Twitter to kind of do a breakdown. This was back on the 11th, actually, last week, where they talked about like the rollback, the netcode and such, because that was like a problem when the game was out. And they decided to kind of give us some examples of like the current netcode, showing like a lower ping environment and like their predictable paths and high ping environment as well. So it's really cool, like in a sense of like being able to see it. I'm wondering if these tools are gonna is something you actually can see in the game. But if not, then cool for them to sharing us the footage. Basically, they have two Shaggies on stage, just kind of showing you like what it looks like in those different environments and how it's maintaining its gameplay in a smooth, in how smooth it actually ends up looking. And as well as they give us a couple of example matches to go with it. Now, don't get me wrong. Rollback, the rollback discussion and kind of showing it off and all that. Awesome. That's a fucking win. Good job, guys. The internet, however, took this and saw this footage and go like, anyone else notice that the characters are like bigger like than they were before? And the gameplay itself, like looking at it, especially in that the match that they posted up, is like way slower. Like, not saying because of netcode was like, no, just the gameplay in general is what is slow. At first I didn't I want to say I did notice something, but I wasn't sure what it was. But yeah, looking at like watching like Batman, for example, his like dive kick, or seeing Wonder Woman or Finn play in that match, I'm like, this is not the pace that this game usually runs at. And you might go like, oh, well, hey, maybe, pros are playing it faster. They're wave dashing. They're moving around more. Like, no, like there's something about like the gameplay is clearly it. Like, because I was just trying to look at Batman by himself, just doing a move. Like I said, it's dive kick. Very, very easy way to tell. Like, it is just a much slower game than it was before. So they've definitely brought the pacing down. And I don't know, I give them the take them with a grain of salt because they have it in the letters in the bottom, right? In development, footage not final. Like, they could change this, but at the current state right now, as of them posting this up, they have definitely indeed made the game slower and the characters are bigger. And they have not said anything about it though. So that's why I'm not sure if this is supposed to be final. But I would, at the same time, wouldn't believe they would release this footage if, without saying a disclaimer like, hey, we're working on something, right? Or we're trying this out. There hasn't really been a discussion on that. So yeah, even funny enough, I just wanted to check the comments real quick. The kill stage being one of the first ones. Did you guys record this in a lower FPS or something? Why is it so slow? People are noticing. And you got to play the game a bit too. I honestly can't remember how long you were playing. Because you were playing a lot more by the end of it. How do you feel on the current look of it?
I didn't play as much as you did. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I was just rocking around.
Yeah. But I did watch Chris and his partner that went to Evo play, and I technically I'm gonna sound weird. I like this way because I feel like I can see it more. Just saying, I feel like I can see more things. I do like the characters that are bigger because you can see a lot more things. But I understand a speed change, especially coming from a lot of players that are Smash players. They come from Melee, and Melee was very fast. So I can see what you mean about a playstyle being different, looking a little slower. But to me, I don't know. It's looking like again, that was also an online game. Like you said, it's not pro players. Pros are like moving throughout the stage and they like their movement. So I think it's looking fine. I don't know. I'm giving it until the end of May.
You welcome the change?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, once again, putting it with the big fat in development, not final. This could be something that they can revert, especially after hearing this, because they've been very clear that they listen, right?
That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not as concerned either, because they obviously know what's up. Yeah.
Player first, right? It's literally the name of the company, so they're listening. So yeah, it is still slated for the return on May 28th, with all that rollback netcode and maybe not 15-20% size bigger characters and slow down, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's just, it kind of came out of left field. It went from like, oh, rollback was great. And then it was just like, what's going on over here? And why is no one talking about it? Or why didn't you say anything about it? It's like, that's the part that's a little weird for me, is that they haven't stated anything about it. And just another thing to kind of like touch on there too, with Multiversus trying to make their, they're kind of getting their marketing wheels going, right? They're starting to fire up that engine. It has not stopped them from doing some interesting crossovers with the NHL. So on top of the rollback announcement that was kind of, or not, I mean announcement, but kind of like developer update on that, there've been just nothing but a slew of hockey teams getting built with the characters, and they are representing one team versus another, and this is all going to get shown off, and there's some footage of the gameplay. Got people just wondering what in the hell is going on here. At first I thought the same thing. I was like, that's a weird crossover. But as soon as I said that, of course, I've got my conscience coming in and the voice of reason going like, well, it's not that weird. And John's here to interject because now that you guys can hear what his thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it always comes down to, I think, like, you know, with gamers, this is a hobby, right? And we always kind of keep it in that box, you know. But if you step outside of it and take a look at what's happening, you know, like, you know, Multiversus is owned by WB. I did not realize they owned, was it Turner, TNT, right?
TNT, yeah.
Like the turn, and they have like hockey stuff going on that channel. So, you know, Warner Brothers is going to try to figure out how to. I mean, the game itself is an amalgamation of all their properties. So they're going to try to figure out how to cross promote and advertise on all of their properties. Like it's a vehicle for them to do that. So it makes sense. Like Warner Brothers is not the only company doing this. Like there's a lot of companies trying to figure out how to advertise in games, right? Like, and this has happened for a long time. Like, so Alan Wake, the original Alan Wake, there is a Verizon commercial in the game. Like when when you're playing the game, when you roll up to this TV, it starts playing a Verizon commercial, it was just a very weird thing to do considering what was happening in the game at that time. So like there was like a Verizon commercial, which I think in the new Alan Wake, the remaster, they took it out because, you know, the licensing was up for it. But there are like game companies that have patents for like, if your game has billboards in it, like the billboards will be dynamically changed, not just based on who's advertising at the time, but based on your like advertising profile and stuff like that. So everybody's trying to figure out how to get advertisements in games, because not only are people in games for, you know, 30, 40, 50 hours, and that's a single player title. Think about multiplayer. People are spending hundreds of hours in these games. So there's that. You know, a lot of people like don't even, like, for example, like if you ask me like what's going on with like, I guess the major things on TV right now, and that's including like Netflix and Hulu and Max, like I couldn't tell you because I don't watch that much. I play way more games than I do that. So, you know, they're trying to get advertising and like promotion in front of like people like that, like people like me. But then on top of that, especially with a game like Multiversus, right? You're going to have a young demographic that plays it. And they want the young demographic to get into hockey. They do. Like the MLB is looking for ways to get younger people watching baseball, you know? So like
that's true. Yeah, I do remember reading up articles about that. Yeah, that is like getting harder and harder to turn to. So yeah, the more you bring it up, the more I'm like, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, so
makes sense.
It makes total sense. Like to us, it's a hobby, it's a game. To them, it is a vehicle to make money and advertise and like do whatever they can, you know, to get some dollars out of it, to make it the most efficient, like, you know, that they can.
Put some gear on bugs and sending them out. Yeah,
exactly. That's what they're going to do. So it makes sense. And as long as it doesn't interfere with the game too much, I guess I don't mind it, you know, like it really, you got to take it on a case by case basis, you know?
Yeah. You can lean into it a little too hard, but I guess this is not really outside of the, what we would say is weird. We already got Bugs fighting Batman and Batman fighting Finn. It's like, you know what?
Told you, man.
We can slap some hockey gear on him. It'll be all right.
Exactly.
It is not that out of this world. Iron Giant, not a problem. Yeah. So with that, we're actually going to be wrapping up all our updates here for really any kind of major stuff that's been going on this week. We're going to be coming back after this break. We've got some interesting questions to talk about, as well as some Hitbox trademarking, patents, lawyer talk from people that are clearly not lawyers. After this. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're back. Kind of a long-winded coverage there on what's going on with Multiversus and, of course, the Ermac breakdown. But let's get into something else that has kind of been making its ways through the FGC verse right now, and that is Hitbox. And no, Hitbox, we're not talking about the actual Hitbox on the game. We're talking about Hitbox, the controller. And by controller, we're talking about a leverless arcade controller. I can't even say arcade controller because it's a leverless joystick. How does it? You say it again? Is it just leverless controller?
So leverless controller,
right? Okay,
leverless controller.
Well, I can't help but say joystick or fight stick, regardless, because it's so engraved. But saying Hitbox, what I said earlier, and then referring to a controller that has no levers, obviously, and only has buttons for your directions. That is what do we call that in the industry? That is called a trademark.
No, the Hitbox name is the trademark.
That's what I said. Like saying Hitbox and referring to that is like calling it the trademark there. Now, the controller itself being a patent is something else. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Not just the patents, but really the move that Hitbox has made recently about their new licensing program that they have for their intellectual property. So for those that are unaware, Hitbox being a company that was started, I think, well, they've been involved in the FGC since like 2010. I think formally they've been trademarked as Hitbox, right? As back in 2021 or something like that. We did a little bit of diving on some of the paperwork.
The initial was like in 2012, but there were some problems. I don't want to speak too much to it because I may be misunderstanding the language, but there was definitely a lot of activity with the trademark.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, they are the creators of some of your favorite controllers you might have seen, because in this fighting game scene, we have a slew of them. You could be showing up with a straight up like a steering wheel in play. You can show up with a waifu pillow in play, stick a couple buttons on it. It's a functioning controller, right?
Donkey Kong.
These guys though, Donkey Kong, yeah. Shout outs to Ginger Filth for the Congos, right? Anything could be a controller if you try really hard. You can make anything a controller. Yeah. But they create the Hitbox, which is, like I said, leverless controller, right? 4 buttons on the left side, got the big red and white color scheme going on, and you have your traditional 8 on the other. They have the Smash Box, and as well as the Cross Up, which is the combination of both, having a joystick. And you have your 8 buttons here, but you have an additional 4 for movement, aka the full schedule layout for my Marvel heads or for my OGs there that know what I'm talking about. So yeah, they are the providers of that product, and the progenitor, the originators of the concept of a leverless controller, I guess. Feel like this is where it's gonna get gray. So the reason I bring them up, like I said, they recently announced back in when they originally tweeted the 11th of last week, they were to announce the Hitbox licensing program, where basically you get to opt into this licensing program if you're a company, big or small, as they stated on their website, and they give you some sort of support. The licensing provides their company with the ability to share their IP, i.e. the Hitbox, without the worry of other companies damaging it. Through the licensing program, we can officially endorse and collaborate with other high quality companies and manufacturers. Additionally, we can also help ensure that every player's experience on the leverless controller is a positive one. That's a wild statement. And then it gives you an overview of what like the licensings are. So they have like 3 levels of it currently.
I was gonna say overview. Does it give you an overview?
Well, there is an overview of what it is, because it's like it gives the breakdown on their site. If you go on to hitbox.arcade.com, it shows you what the licensing is, what is licensing, because they needed a breakdown of what that is, their core values behind it, the customer service, and then the level system for it. But it's like that's where it kind of then becomes even more vague, because there's 3 levels. You've got your red, black, and gold. And it determines a range of benefits and support while still scaling to their highest potential. These levels will ensure that the growing community organizations are not excluded based on their size and resources. Okay, cool. And for customers, these levels represent quality and consistency. Red's the standard. At the starting level, black is the next level up, providing quality and consistency. And then gold is for licenses that go above and beyond, both as an organization and supporting the community. That's it. like that's all we get. And if you're just as confused on it, don't worry, you can join the club. They weren't very they clearly were not very in depth as to like what these levels actually do bring, or what really the licensing is supposed to be. Like, assuming in any terms here, when you're a partner or and you have an agreement or something with another entity, and there's a license of support or something that goes with it, you're thinking levels of support, right, Ja? Like in a professional sense, it's kind of what you first think of as a default. Is like you get this amount of support for maybe this amount because you're this tier partner, right?
Right. I mean, so usually with partner programs, I mean, like professional, like partner and licensing programs, like some partner programs provide a certain level of support. So like Microsoft, for example, provides a certain level of support if you hit certain markers, but those markers are clearly defined. Also, in terms of like reselling certain products from, I guess I'll just keep it in the IT realm. So like Microsoft or VMware or Cisco, if you're a reseller, you get like you're at a certain level depending on whatever metrics they set for you, but those are clearly defined.
Which these are clearly not.
Exactly. I think that's one of the biggest issues here. Is I feel like they really just shouldn't have said anything until they had some clear markers or they could clearly define certain things. So typically what happens in these situations, right? Where somebody makes an announcement of this sort, right? Where they're making a policy change or doing something like that. And they do it in social media. What you'll see is they'll make the announcement. People will have questions. So then they'll have their social media people either answering the questions or directing them to a place where they can find answers. And that place where they can find answers usually has some pretty defined stuff, Of course, there's always an outlier here or there that maybe they haven't explained. But I think the biggest problem with this is that it is so vague. So vague. Like, what are they actually licensing here? And what, like you were saying, Dre, like, what do the tiers do? So, like, with their goal, right? They said our goal is to alleviate quality issues to consumers by endorsing the most deserving controllers, big and small. We do this with the same care we hold our own flagship products. The customer's experience is of utmost importance from the moment they unbox their controller through trusting its quality for years to come. Our dedication to our customers and community is the foundation of the Hitbox licensing program. People who aren't buying Hitboxes aren't your customers, dude. Like that's kind of the thing, like basically because it's so vague and they haven't defined anything, it feels like it's a power play to kind of like control the leverless industry, like basically stake your claim. That's what it feels like. Now, because of the backlash next week or this week at this point, this week or next week or sometime in the near future, they may have more definitive, well, this is what the program does. This is what it meant. Like, and through defining things, they may actually show you like, yes, this is about, consumer confidence, because that is a concern for them, right? Considering the fact that I have yet to hear anybody in the FGC call it a leverless controller.
I have.
You have?
But, or it's how they say is, I play leverless.
I don't hear people saying that. Like, I mean, every time I've heard a reference, it's been Hitbox. That's every time I've heard a reference, I've heard Hitbox.
I've definitely used leverless to help, like when I'm asking someone, because I know Hitbox is just so, it is definitely, cemented itself with that. Obviously, when you're like, oh, I play on a Hitbox. It might not literally be a Hitbox like from them, but it's a variation of it that is someone else playing like a snack box or whatever, right? Though that's kind of like changing in itself, though. Like people are kind of now addressing it by whatever box it's called. It's a snack box. It's a micro. It's a what's the other ones? An nth or something like that. Like we're slowly starting to see. At least I've noticed it, starting to see kind of divides in between people are saying it. Like Hitbox is becoming more of a general term. Yeah. Kind of like Kleenex is to a tissue, right? Like it's just like you think about it. Like you know what it is, but the Kleenex is really the brand while tissues what are actually what you're asking for, but you think of them as one, right? That's just like what was the other examples you give me? Like Google is another one, right?
Google,
like just Google that.
Xerox, all types of
Xerox, another one.
But that's what I mean. Like it's general. Like if someone buys a leverless controller, and then when they see it, they say Hitbox. Their brain says Hitbox, and if that leverless controller sucks, they're like, "Oh, I'm not buying." Then when they mean they're not going to buy a leverless controller, right? They're good, but they say I'm not buying a Hitbox because they suck. And if that like kind of starts to spread and get around, that may deter other people from buying Hitbox, like the product itself. So there could be a legitimate concern in terms of consumer confidence. I get that. That may be the case, but that's not the way it seems based on what they're doing here.
And the honestly, the feedback they've gotten since that announcement has not been great. Like I don't know what the general consensus is beforehand when it came to like the quality of it, because I don't own, like, this is gonna sound weird. I don't own a Hitbox. In other words, like a Hitbox branded Hitbox. Like that's the only way I'm gonna be able to explain that.
You don't own a Hitbox leverless controller.
Thank you. Yeah, it's weird. A Hitbox branded leverless controller, but I do have a leverless controller, right? Like, and I think, this thing works well. It does what I need it to do. And it was cheap, and big AliExpress comes in a clutch, right? While as like the consensus is like, they made this licensing program for quality, and yet people actually, I've seen more so than anything. I mean, obviously this is just online. You're going to have to like, get some more hard data to fix that, but are putting them as like a lower tier when it comes to quality. So it's like that, but the public opinion is like, you are already not making kind of like the best product, and yet you're the ones that are going to want a license to have quality control on this, while as your product isn't really known for being the best. But that's a subjective thing. I don't know if people have just had a lot more instances of like sending hitboxes back, like, because it's so weird to me. It's a weird concept because it's something that can be done so easily. Like when you're talking a leverless controller versus a joystick, like you just have an additional 4 holes is what the big difference here is. Like when you're talking like on a technical level, like wiring and such, like it's the same thing. It's doing the same thing a joystick is doing. It's just doing it with buttons versus that, right? So it like throws me off that it's a discussion point there with them that it's like, oh, we want to control quality on it, and yet the court of public opinion is like, you're not really at that level of what we've seen. The more products that have come out since that, people like hold at high regards. Like I said, like your snack boxes, your micros and such, which, to the degree, Micro is owned by Paradise Arcade, and they are a partner, like the first announced licensed partner for their program. Still don't know what that's really going to change now before, the before and after. Like really, they already had a great product before. So it's like, what's the license program going to do after? We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've heard the same thing, that the hitboxes aren't like that. There's qualities. Like I've heard that they don't work on PS5. I don't know if that's true or not, or even that even to work on PS4, I shouldn't even really talk about it, but to work on PS4, they have to do something with the board. Like it's not licensed by Sony, essentially. Like it's not licensed by Sony, which is ironic, right? For it to work there. But yeah, I mean, it's just really not clear what they're licensing. Are they licensing like the ability to use like their patented controller layout? Because I feel like, and I'm not a patent lawyer, but I just kind of feel like that's got to be hard to defend, considering that Microsoft and Sony don't defend it that hard.
Yeah, we've had a chance to look. Like they've posted up their patents right on their website. Currently, they have one, which is for the original Hitbox. There's still ones pending for the cross-up and the Smashbox. Currently, it's patent pending, so it's not actually been approved, and they don't have it right now. But yeah, I had to look at even the patents too, because I'm like, how do you actually like enforce something like that? Where as I was reading it, and the patent itself is like 19 pages. It's got some great, it's got some illustrations, which is cool. But just to get some of like the bullet points, it's like the controller's on a flat surface with buttons. I'm like, okay. They literally have to physically describe how it is, and then the connections, like the controller can connect to the game console. Mind you, it is saying specifically game console. We'll talk about that in a little bit on the technicalities there. Either wirelessly or via wired connection, such as a USB cable. Like, okay, that's like any interface device that you require for, say, something like game needs a controller of some kind. Cool. Control signals are sent from button to the game console to this connection. I'm like, bro, I had to double check. I had to like look again. I'm like, did I click on the right file? Like, this is like a controller, right? Like, we're just still talking about a controller still. And it seems to have emphasized more on the, the ergonomics of being able to naturally hold your hands in these ways, which I'm like, okay, I get that. That's kind of like what is distinct about the the leverless controller design. But like, yeah, how tough is it going to be to like, take someone to court over something that can do the same thing? I mean, I think one specific I saw was like the button, a button needs to be bigger. I mean, technically this isn't the patent because these are all the same size and they're 30 millimeters, while they in their patent do state for smaller buttons for ergonomic reasons. But that's like what they, it's vague. So it says like the preferred layout is that. So I guess it can cover that. But yeah, I find it like really tough. Like, how are they going to use this patent and this license to help enforce this quality and this patent that they have to just, for whatever reasons, whatever court reason they might have to when it comes to that in the future. It's like, it's very vague, and I'm like, is that intentionally, or is that just because they're figuring it out still?
Well, I mean, if they were still figuring it out, they should have put the patent in.
Good point.
I guess I'll go back to like my Microsoft and Sony example. There are tons of controllers that have the same layout as the DualShock. I mean, the Nintendo Pro controller has the same layout as the Xbox controller, and I highly doubt they licensed that from Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? They find like these companies, if they want to build a similar product, they find a way to do it. Like, usually what you'll see is if you have a feature and it's the same exact feature, if it's implemented in the same exact way as the patent, then you're in trouble. But if you can implement a similar feature or the same feature with a different implementation, then I almost feel like you're kind of clear. I'm sure there's some legal ramifications to that and how they do it. But for example, Nintendo, they definitely patented the Rumble Pack, but it still showed up in Sony controllers. Then it still showed up in Microsoft controllers. Like,
I do keep forgetting that was fucking Nintendo that like came up with that. It was like, they
Star Fox with the Rumble Pack, man.
What about the Wavebird?
No, I don't know about so much the wireless, because I'm talking about just the idea of when you're saying rumble, you're talking about like the actual like idea of feedback in a controller.
In a controller,
yeah, exactly. That's different. Wireless controllers, I don't think was, I don't think they were ahead of the game on that one. But the rumble and coming back to that one, everybody needed that.
So even because there's talks, because the DualShock 5 has that DualSense feature with the haptic feedback, and they're already talking about the next Microsoft controller coming out having that same feature, but it's going to be implemented differently than it is in the Sony controller. So, and that's harder to do, like the tech behind that takes a lot of like ingenuity and engineering. We're talking about button layouts, man.
Button layouts and a name.
Button layouts and a name, and just what you said, like they specified how big the buttons need to be, and on your leverless controller, like the buttons they're all the same size, they're smaller, so it should technically speaking get around it.
Yeah, it could, and it's like I'm just trying to understand like where is the end goal for that? Like, is it, is it really, they state it's for quality and such. And, hey, until they give an official feedback or statement on all this feedback they've been getting, because they've been active on Twitter. There have been prominent people that have been like asking them questions, and sometimes they'll give some details. Other times it's like, hey, we take your input very seriously. Thank you very much. Corpo talk, right? To be like noted, and we ain't got shit for that. Understandable too. You don't have to answer everything. But in the court of public opinion right now, this ain't it, Chief. Like, there's just no other way to say it right now. This is not it hasn't really been taken in too well. We'll just have to see how it develops past this. Like, it's when maybe someone else pulls that licensing. Like, I want to say, I want to honestly reach out to Paradise and be like, what the hell is this license? And what does it do for you?
Reach out to Hitbox, like, and say, you guys want to explain what it is,
or reach out to both and be like, yeah, I think we might have to do a follow up on this, because I'm just very curious, because I don't mind it if it means quality control, as they're stating. Like, I'm fine with that, because don't nobody want to get a shit controller. Yeah. Shit, everyone loses their shit when they get a bad controller from, officially from Sony or something. If you get a botched one, it's a pain. It's you got to return it. Maybe it was also during a game you wanted to play, and you're like, oh god, now I got to play my shitty ass controller until then. Get a return, get a new one. This and the other. Hitboxes or leverless controllers they're that's much more niche, right? So it's, I can understand them going like, we just want quality control. This is like, okay, cool, but like, what quality is there, right? It's just the button needs to do what the button was set to do. Up needs to press up, down needs to go down. Like,
I think it would do them a big favor if they really define that, because at the end of the day, these things are performance devices, right? They are, because they're not for like casuals. Casuals don't even have fight sticks. Like,
nope. They don't know what control to pick up. They're like, do I pick up a DualShock of this or this or that? Which one's the best control? And it's like, there is no. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right, hold on. Sorry. Let me take this one back. There is a best controller in, like, when we're talking technical numbers and we're talking actuation and distance and human factor, there is an optimized version. That's what a leverless controller is looked upon at, but it's not a necessary tool.
Right.
To be a professional in. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Be perfectly clear.
And that's the thing. So this is like a performance. There's like a high performance, like, a device, right? This is like 144 hertz monitor, 200 and whatever hertz monitor they're selling at the, like, right now. This is your mechanical keyboard. This is your high DPI mouse. It's not for the average person. So you can say it's very important that the reaction time is X, point whatever milliseconds, and that the contacts are this, and that the buttons are able to withstand like this many presses, and there's like rigorous testing. Like, if you define these things, I think it would help for sure. I mean, you're still going to get people complaining because there was a lot of like, oh, they're just being greedy and blah blah blah. And I mean that could be the underlying issue, but at the end of the day, their business, and if they feel they have intellectual property to protect, that's what they're going to try to do. But I think they just need to iron this out. I mean, this whole thing may just go away. You may never hear about it again. I think if they go after somebody without really ironing this thing out, that will be a bad look for them.
That would be terrible look for them.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Maybe we'll get a follow up with them. Who knows? Not making any promises, but I don't think this will be the last of it. Especially once we get it. Hopefully, we get an update from them as a collective and some sort of official statement as to what these terms are. Because there's a lot of community members out there that do a lot of really cool things, and don't nobody want to catch a case over something like this. Don't nobody want to catch a case. So we'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, the license program is out there in full effect, and we'll see what they do with it from there. It's my question for you guys, the audience, this week. That's the question of the week. This whole talk on the leverless controllers. How do you guys feel about Hitbox's choice to create the license program for the leverless controller? Want to hear your thoughts on it. Want to get your feedback. The patents are all there. You guys can go check out on Twitter as well, like kind of like discussions, but we want to hear your feedback on it. You think this is the right move? you don't like about it, if you're seeing some red flags and you're like, this feels like a setup, you're like, I smell it, there's something else in the air. We want to hear from you guys. What do you guys feel about Hitbox's license program and their announcement of it? Let us know. This will be posted up on all of our platforms where you guys can check out the show as well. All right, guys, and that's going to do it for our Hitbox talk. We're going to do something a little different this week for the Folks to Talk discussion, where we're going to ask you guys, and actually we're going to ask you guys and have it on the poll as well, about fighting game patching. This is a discussion that we want to have, but we're going to kind of do it backwards. Like I said, we want to ask you guys, how often would you like fighting games patched in 1 year? So we're going to have different options for you. You got once a year patch. We got twice a year. So that's every 6 months. We'll do some quick napkin math here. 3 times a year, which is every 4 months. And then we got 4 or more. So potentially as much as 3 months, every 3 months, every quarter, we get a patch. We're asking this because we actually want to get into some of the nitty gritty of our thoughts on the patching process here on fighting games. We're going to get into that next week. So we'd love to get you guys involved on the poll. And we'll discuss more about that on next week's episode, where we're going to have a whole segment dedicated to it. So once again, we want to know, how often do you want to get fighting games patched during the year? And we'll talk about it next week. All right. With that is actually going to do it for this week on this episode of Double Tap. I want to say thanks to everyone that's been hanging out with us. We do appreciate y'all for chilling. Plenty of good things to get into. Remember, jump on that Ermac when he drops if you're still playing MK1. You guys can, of course, check us out at Double Tap FGC on all social media platforms. You can check out my awesome host at StaticGorilla on StaticGorilla on all social medias, as well as on Twitch. I think he just signed up for Combo Breaker. Yep. Justin Wong passed up on him during the show, so he's just gonna be making his way online at this moment, right?
Dang, sure, yep. Just wasting away on Twitch. No, we're having fun this week. Finally getting no Marvel this week. Actually, I'm taking a break this weekend, going on a trip. So
okay, so he's wasting away offline this week.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Someone who's not wasting away online this week, we got Ja, of course, at Jostradamus on Twitter and on Blue Sky. He says he's not interesting, but he does post some gold every once in a while.
Every once in a while, not recently. But you can follow if you want.
You can follow if you want. Absolutely. You can follow me as well if you want at Crashtag VS as well. Once again, Double Tap FGC when we're active. Make sure to check us out there. And of course, you guys can get involved in the question of the week and the polls on various different platforms. We have it, of course, on Twitter, on our YouTube page, as well on Spotify, and of course on Discord. You guys can join us on our Discord at doubletap.gg/Discord. Come check us out. Check us out there. Check out the question of the week. Come say what's up to our awesome community that we have there. Get involved. Come get some matches on. It's a great spot to be in. But also, once again, social media, Twitter, YouTube, subscribe there, engage in community posts as well. Like I said, on Spotify, we'll post up all of our questions here to get you guys involved in the show. Those are the spots to be in. So we appreciate everyone that has done it. And also, we do appreciate everyone that has rated the show. We are still 5-star. We're still looking strong there. If you haven't already, drop a review. Let us know what you think about the show, what you like about us. So we can keep on going on at it. And what you don't like about us, we can hit the training stage, work on that matchup, and come back better than before. And it also helps a whole lot out when you do share the show, liking, retweeting, posting up on Reddit, anywhere that you might think that might like it, your friend, your homie you take your trips down to do the locals. If you think they might enjoy the show, feel free to share it with them. It really does help a whole lot for the show. We do appreciate it. You guys, make sure to stay tuned after the show to hear about all our other shows here on the Mash Those Buttons Network. We'll be having a new episode. And next week, once again, we're going to be talking about patching, fighting games, all that good stuff. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Until then, be cool. Go play Ermac. And we'll see y'all next week.
Later.
Peace.